You and I were not there. We did not hear the whistles that sent men walking into machine gun fire. We did not smell the sweet metallic rot of gangrene in a dressing station. We did not wake up every night for years afterward, tasting cordite and wet wool and fear. But we live in the world they made when they died. So before we close this series, before we put the books back on the shelf and tell ourselves that was a long time ago, let us do what almost nobody did in 1918, 1919, or the decades that followed. Let us actually count. Not the tidy official figures governments like to publish, not the rounded numbers historians sometimes use to make chapters fit neatly on a page. The real cost, the numbers that refuse to stay rounded, the names that refuse to stay statistics. The most commonly quoted military death toll for the First World War is 8.5 to 10 million. That number is wrong. It is too low. It excludes millions who died of disease directly attributable to war conditions, prisoners who starved in captivity, and men who died in the chaotic demobilization winter of 1918-1919. More honest contemporary estimates, 2020's scholarship consensus. Military deaths, combat plus disease plus captivity plus accidents directly war-related, approximately 10.8 to 11.2 million. Military wounded, serious enough to be recorded, many light wounds never counted, approximately 21 to 23 million. Of those wounded, approximately 3 to 4 million permanently disabled, missing limbs, blindness, severe facial injury, shell shock, or PTSD too severe to work again. Breakdown by major belligerent, best current estimates. Russian Empire, 2.25 to 2.4 million dead. German Empire, 2.05 to 2.2 million dead. France, 1.4 to 1.5 million dead. Austria-Hungary, 1.2 to 1.5 million dead. British Empire, 900,000 to 950,000 dead. Italy, 650,000 to 700,000 dead. Ottoman Empire, 650,000 to 771,000 dead. Military only, civilian genocide toll separate. United States, 116,516 dead, approximately 50,000 combat, the rest flu and disease. Romania, Serbia, Belgium, Bulgaria, Portugal, Greece, Japan, etc., approximately 700,000 to 900,000 combined. Add another approximately 2 to 3 million military prisoners who died in captivity, mostly Russian and Romanian POWs in Austria-Hungary and Germany, Serbian POWs in Austria, German and Austrian POWs in Russia after 1917. Total military dead, realistically 13 to 14 million when captivity deaths and late 1918, early 1919 flu in army deaths are included. Wounded who survived but were never the same, approximately 21 million. 1 out of every 4 or 5 men of military age in France, Serbia, Romania, Montenegro did not come home. In some departments, 1 out of every 3 men aged 20 to 45 in 1914 was dead or permanently maimed by 1920. Official histories still sometimes speak as if only soldiers died. They didn't. Civilian deaths, 1914 to 1918, excluding post-armistice flu pandemic, direct war violence, invasion, occupation, reprisals, artillery, air raids, approximately 6.5 to 7.5 million. War-induced famine, malnutrition, disease in occupied or isolated regions, approximately 4 to 5 million. Armenian genocide, Ottoman Empire, 1915 to 1917, approximately 1 to 1.5 million. Assyrian and Pontic Greek genocides, approximately 300,000 to 750,000. Other ethnic or religious massacres, especially in Ottoman and Russian borderlands, approximately 500,000 to 800,000. Conservative total civilian war-related deaths, excluding 1918-1919 global flu pandemic, approximately 13 to 15 million. Add the Spanish flu pandemic, which exploded because of war conditions, troop movements, malnutrition, crowded hospitals, demobilization, approximately 20 to 50 million global deaths. Most historians now place it 30 to 50 million range. War did not cause the virus, but created ideal conditions for its spread. Many demographers now argue that at least half of the global flu toll should be considered war-related mortality.
That brings the total human cost, military plus civilian plus flu attributable to war conditions, into the 40 to 60 million range. That number is so large it becomes abstract. So let us make it concrete. Imagine every single person living in Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Switzerland, Portugal, Greece, Belgium, the Netherlands, Sweden, and half of Canada gone. That scale. Total direct war expenditure, 1914 prices, approximately $208 to $250 billion, equivalent to roughly $4.5 to $6 trillion in 2025 dollars. Destruction of infrastructure, farmland, housing, factories, approximately $100 to $150 billion more, 2025 equivalent $2.5 to $4 trillion. Merchant shipping sunk approximately 15 million tons. Britain lost 9 million tons alone. Horses and mules killed, approximately 8 million, more than human military dead in some theaters. Agricultural output drop in Europe, 30 to 60% depending on country. Livestock slaughtered or died of starvation, approximately 40 to 50% in Central Powers. Germany's 1923 hyperinflation wiped out middle-class savings more effectively than any artillery bombardment. France borrowed heavily from the US and Britain. Repayment consumed much of the 1920s budget. Britain sold most of its overseas investments and became a debtor nation for the first time in centuries. The war did not just destroy wealth, it destroyed the mechanisms that created new wealth. Lost generation of young men. France, Serbia, Romania, Montenegro lost 15 to 25% of males aged 20 to 45. Surplus women in Britain and France. Hundreds of thousands of widows and unmarried women who would never marry. Orphan crisis. Millions of children without fathers and in some cases mothers due to flu. Rise in prostitution and venereal disease in occupied and demobilized zones. Generational trauma passed down. Higher rates of alcoholism, domestic violence, suicide in veteran families. Political polarization. Moderate parties weakened. Extremists strengthened almost everywhere. The 1919 to 1939 period is sometimes called the Long Armistice. It was never peace. It was exhaustion. We began this series with Sarajevo, 1914. One bullet, one wrong turn, one moment of chaos. We end it here, more than a decade later, with tens of millions of graves, shattered economies, broken families, new borders drawn in blood, and the certain knowledge that the next war was already being prepared in the resentment, the humiliation, the hunger, the untreated trauma. The First World War did not cause the Second in any simple linear way, but it created the conditions in which the Second became almost inevitable. Every tank that rolled into Poland in 1939, every Stuka that screamed over Rotterdam, every boxcar that rolled toward Auschwitz had roots in the unfinished business of 1918-1919. The war did not end in 1918. It paused, and then it continued under different uniforms, different flags, different slogans, until we, humanity, finally learned the only lesson it ever really taught. There is no such thing as a short war. There are only wars that stop for a while. The reckoning is not complete. It never will be. But at least now we have looked. This is just the beginning of a story. In future episodes, we'll explore the Western Front warfare, the rise of new weapons, the strategies of great generals, and the human cost of these conflicts. If you want to understand the history that shaped the modern world, subscribe to Tale Master Legends series. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.